Hey everybody! Happy Tuesday, Tutorial Tuesday. So, wow, that was a busy week. Today I want to show you how you can use some sort of, I don't know if I want to call it salvaged pieces, scrap pieces. Wait, every week I'm doing that, right? Well, that's kind of what I like to do. So what I have done this week is I have created a customized leather candle wrap. And I'll show it to you in a second, but I want to give you a little bit of background. So this is not that big of a deal, but I was on Instagram and up came an advertisement for an interior designer out in, I think she's in Malibu or out in LA somewhere. She's very popular. I've watched her grow. But now she has this shop and they're selling all of this merchandise. And this was something I saw on her shop and the price tag was $69. And here's what it is. Excuse me. It is a little leather wrapped candle. Now the candle that she's selling, it fills this cup up, but I'm doing my DIY version. So I'm going to show you how to make this leather wrapped custom candle. But if you can see this right now, because I'm going to take this off and put this aside, you can see that the gap at the top is different than the gap at the bottom. And that is one of the bigger deals on this project. You have to, and this would be, wait, this, time out. This would be the same thing if you were doing a lampshade. What looks like a completely equal cylindrical lampshade may be different. There may be a little bit of an angle to it. So I found this out the hard way, and that was that right there. So I'm going to take this off and I'm going to go over what you need to make this, because this is a fairly easy project and super cheap, okay? The glass, this wasn't even on there. This was on their dishes shelf, 69 cents. It's got an engraving on it, but it's the right size to put a candle in, 69 cents. Brand new pillar candle. You don't want to put a used candle in there. This was also 69 cents. Now, if you know how to make candles, that would even be better. But for this project, I'm going to use that. The more expensive thing I had to buy was this little leather cording from Michael's, and I believe that was like $5. Of course, I've got a lot to use, and I did have a coupon for that. So those were the materials I needed for that project. Now, there's one other thing I'm going to do to customize it, and it's going to be to stamp some leather, or stamp some initials in it. And if you want to do that, you need to have or purchase a little alphabet stamp kit. And I believe Hobby Lobby sells these. I got this out at Tandy Leather, actually, out here in Indianapolis. And that's great to have. I can use that forever. And then the other thing, which you don't need to buy, but if you do want to buy it, is a leather hole punch. And this thing, okay, I'm not dissing this. This one is very inexpensive, and it's not exactly centered, and this wheel kind of shifts around a little bit. So you have to be mindful or careful of where that punch goes while you're trying to get it in the right spot. Okay, so you just have to, you can't just assume that this thing is going to stay still, because it doesn't. The other thing about this is the little hole punch nozzle gets stopped up with leather, so you have to come back every so often, take a needle or something, and either poke it down or pull out that leather. So it's just one of those things, you know, the right tools are everything. This is sort of semi-right. In fact, I would call this project sort of like the, do you remember the Food Network show Semi-Homemade with Sandra Lee? She would use a box or a convenience food and then add her little customized thing to it and turn out this beautiful, delicious dish. So this is sort of my semi-homemade project. Okay, so we've got those tools here. You're gonna need a tape measure because you have to measure the circumference of your jar or your glass. And I have a box cutter knife razor and a quilter's ruler, but you could use any kind of ruler or straight edge. And then I have the scrap leather here, and I have this big piece, which I mean, if you're going to do any kind of leather crafting or accessories, it's okay to buy something like that. I hated to cut some of these out of here that I was making mistakes on, but for you guys, I decided to do it. Okay, let me get all this squared away here. Let me think if there's any other tool. Oh, if you're going to do your customized monogram on there, you need a little bit of squirt water or just a sponge with some water to wet the leather, because the embossing with the punches will go in a lot better if the leather is moist. And then I have the hammer. I think that's everything. Okay, so let's just get on with this. First of all, I've already done first of all a couple times. Second of all, I love going to Goodwill. I love going there because it's kind of like you have a limited amount of things and you can just go in there and get inspired by something and then come up with a whole entirely different idea. Now, granted, I went in there and I did not go in there thinking I was going to look for this to make that candle, but I did see this and I saw this, so I thought, why not? But other times I just go in and I'll find something and a few different pieces, and I don't just go home and stack them up or bring them to my shop. I usually have some, I don't know, like, oh, I can make this. If I find a, let's say, just a picture frame. In fact, I have a picture frame project I might show you here at the end. If I find little pictures and I think, oh, I could use those frames for something. So whatever I find, I'm probably going to use it for something else. And for me, that's the joy of the process. It's not the actual product that I buy and take home and use. It's how it can become a component part of something else. And Goodwill, even though they have their faults, Goodwill does a lot of good out there in the world. Okay, all right, enough of that chatter. So, as I showed you, my first version of this did not work. So what I came back and did was I took a measurement of the top and a measurement of the bottom, and I found that there was about, I think about a 3/4, not quite that much difference in it. I'm not going to go into the numbers because I have it all written down and it's boring, but measure all the way around the top of your glass container, write that down, and then measure the whole circumference around the bottom, write that down, and then you can see what that difference is. You're not going to do any math with the difference, but I'll show you what you are going to do. And then I drew a little picture, and so exaggeratedly, the leather is going to go like this. So it's going to be narrower at the bottom and it's going to flare out a little bit at the top. So that entire measurement circumference there, let's say it was 10 1/4, 9 and something down here. So it's going to be like this. So write those down, and then when you go to your leather piece, all you have to do is start out with, and I like to use the back side of the leather so I don't, if I make a mistake, I haven't ruined the front. So I just lined it up and took that 10-inch measurement and drew a straight line. That was my starting point. Then I decided how deep I want that leather wrap to be. Well, I don't want it right up to the tippy top, and I don't want it right down there to the bottom. I want to leave about at least 1/8 of an inch on the top and the bottom. So I took that measurement, and the depth is going to be the same all the way around. So after I have my top measure, my circumference measurement, then I just come up, let's say 3 1/4. I think that's what that measured out to be. Then I'll just come up 3 1/4, 3 1/4, 3 1/4, and I'll come up here and draw that line all the way across. So now I've got the width, the thickness, but I have to get these side angles correct, and I need the length correct. So let's say the longer circumference is down here, is here where closer to me, and the shorter one is up here closer to you. I just measure that out, and then I just draw a straight line and match up those 2 points right there. And that should give me that angle that I need. And this may be confusing. I'm kind of thinking ahead in my mind rather than describing it probably as clearly as I could. But all you have to do is just line up your outside measurement to the measurement down here, the points, and get it exactly squared up and even. That's really important, is to keep those leather pieces really straight and precise. If they're not, it looks terrible. So when I ended up cutting this, I did this one, and when I looked at it, I had a little bit, it was kind of not even here, and when I wrapped it around the jar, it came up short. So that kind of has to be sacrificed. That one's not going to work. And then I came back and I got this one exactly right, but somehow with my tools and materials from my box with all my leather equipment, I got a little speck of leather dye on there and I couldn't get it off. So this one, again, I'll have to use that for something else. So I did finally end up getting one just right. And I also want to make one more point. In order to keep that tiny little space in there where you've got your laces, because you want to see through those laces. You don't want that leather touching each other, those leather sides touching each other. You want a little bit of space in there. So I just trimmed one side down 1/4 of an inch. I kept the same angle, but I trimmed off 1/4 of an inch. And what I come up with is this piece right here. So as I bring my little glass around, and I'm going to wrap it, see? And in my estimation, it fits just right. So the next step is you need to get your holes punched along here. And again, I will say, if you don't have a hole punch, you can use an awl. It's a little bit tough, but you could. If you have any other kind of little tools that will punch holes, that would work as well. Excuse me. But this thing goes a lot quicker. So what I did was I came down with my ruler at 1/4 inch from the cut edge, and I marked 6 hole marks across there, equal distance. So it took me a little bit of time to get it lined up just right, but I have 6 holes across there, and that's going to be for the lacing. I went ahead and punched those out, but I want to show you how to get the other side exactly the same, because if you just tried to freehand it like this, it would end up to be probably not very accurate. So what I did was I fold this, oh wait a minute, oops. I fold this over on top of itself, and the angle is the same, so I'm happy that that came out even. And then I just came in with my pencil. Let me get this lined up. So I've got those top holes, and I come in with my pencil and just make those marks right under that hole there, right through those holes. And then I can see them right here. So this is probably a little bit boring to watch, but I'll show you how it works. So, and you hear a little click with this when you know that it's gone all the way through. You can see that hole went through. But be really careful that you keep these holes in line. See, that one is This is where you have to come in with a little sharp object and kind of pull out that little leather hole. It's kind of like when you're punching holes, notebook holes. Come on. There we go. See, that's a pain in the neck, really, but I don't have to do that many. So nice little clicking, telling me I'm getting through there. Ah, really? It's gonna just do it over and over again. So that's, in my opinion, that's why you get a lot of patience when you're doing your little projects, because it does take time and you just can't rush it. So I'm gonna decide after every punch, I'm gonna go ahead and take out that leather plug. And last one. There we go. Okay, so I've got the holes punched on either side, matching each other, perfectly lined up, hopefully. Now this is the time when I have to finish up the initials on here, because otherwise it's going to be wrapped around the jar. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of water on here. It won't hurt it any. And so, in order to get your leather letters lined up, I put a ruler on here, and with this little sharp tool, ever so faintly, don't dig down in there, just draw a tiny little line across the bottom so you can line up the bottom of your stamps, okay? Because when you're getting ready to stamp, the letter sits up a little bit from the edge. So we're lining up the edges. So if each letter's edge is lined up, it should turn out fine. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I can still see the line I made. And then the goal is to give it a good wallop, but not to keep pounding on it off and on or more than once, because the letter will lift up and then come down in a different spot. So I want to give it one good, I couldn't help it, I had to do two. It's okay, it's not perfect. So I've got JCL, and that is ready to go. All right, so here's what we've got to do. I've got this pre-cut lace here, and it's kind of curly from being wrapped around that cardboard thing. So what I want to do, you don't need this, but I have this little piece of granite, and I'm going to smash down the end of this cord so it's flat and I can get it threaded, okay? So easy. That just flattens it out. And then I take an embroidery needle with a great big eye and thread it through. Now I will say I went ahead and grabbed a pair of pliers because this cord gets stuck in there a little bit. Whoops, that came right apart. Come on. There we go. Okay, so that's ready to lace. To get started, I'm going to go ahead and get a knot tied right here in the end. 2 knots are too big in this cord, so 1 knot is what you want. And on this, on the inspiration piece that you might find online somewhere, you'll see that the knot kind of adds a design element. So this is kind of it's not logical, but I'll just show you how to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this through and leave that knot right there on the outside. And now I'm going to take the needle right through there. Okay. Now the next one will need to cross over to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the glass. No, I'm not going to put it, I changed my mind. I'm not going to put it on the glass. That's going to be too hard to work with. I'm just going to hold it in my hand like this. And so your bottom hole over here stays empty until the end. See that? Now I come right up on the other side, or the same side as that, and come up to the next hole. What you don't want is to see the laces crossed underneath, behind, through that gap. You want it just to look like lines all the way up. You don't have to use the pliers. The cord I have is a tiny bit bigger than the holes I punched, so it's just easier. You could do this for people's water bottles. You could do it for vases. You could do it for a bunch of different things. And again, like I said, if you make candles, this would even be better because you could really knock people out with your customized gift and a homemade candle that had some great fragrance. Okay, so I'm going in the last hole up here at the top. But I'm going to keep the needle and the thread up there. Now, I don't want that engraving to show, so we'll just slide that down. Now you have to come back and tighten this up because you're going to bring that last, you're going to bring the needle down through, and it's going to come through that last hole, and everything needs to be snug at this point. The other thing, like I told you, the cords are kind of curly, so you need to try to keep them as straight as you can. So just fiddle around with it until it is just right. Nothing, by the way, nothing ever, in my experience, ever works perfectly the first time, especially when you're just prototyping something. Okay, so now I've got that wrapped like that. I'm going to take that needle, and instead of trying to slide it down behind the leather, I'm just going to go straight down the center, and then I'll tuck it in. You need fingers that are not stubby. Okay, and now I'm going to come up through that last hole. Of course, I will take off the price tag on here. And cut the needle off because I don't need that on there. And tie a nice little tight knot the bottom. So by the way, the piece I saw online didn't even have a monogram on it, so this is even more custom. So instead of $69, I think it's now worth $85. Now that little moisture where I squirted it with water, that will dry up, and there you go. That is your little custom leather wrap. Now, I didn't have a candle that fit exactly, so this one doesn't even have any kind of good smell to it. It's just plain. You know what, you could go buy some candles at Michael's or somewhere. Okay, that's nice. And then that just sits in there. You can put that in a little box and give that to one of your special family members or friends. Yay. Okay, that's one little leather gift idea. Now I don't want to take up too much more of your time here, about 5 minutes. The other thing I was telling you about was buying old pictures or pictures for the frames. And way back when I was making something completely different, I bought a bunch of little pictures with frames that were this size. I used them for a base because I was using a spray gun, and so I just used these as a tray and sprayed over it. So what you want to do on this, the reason I like this to create a little tray is because this is like a masonite. It's not just paper, it's a masonite bottom. So I was thinking about showing you how to make a leather valet bowl for your front hallway, but this is a lot easier and it will work for any size of frame. I would not go much bigger than this. So I have this has the masonite in it. I will rip this paper off of here. This was $1.99 at Goodwill, by the way. Okay, and then just get whatever color paint you want and spray it. So I have this matte black that I sprayed, which I love the matte black. The back of it doesn't have the paper falling off. You could do any color on this, but if it's for a guy, or not necessarily just a guy, but you might want to use a darkish brown or black leather because it is going to get kind of dirty when you put keys and change on there all the time. You know how that stuff can get dirty in your pockets. So really the point of it is you want to be able to come in your front hallway, dump your keys, your change there, whatever you have in your pocket, and walk away, and you know it's right there. So instead of just leaving it like that, I went ahead and cut this piece, again, a piece of scrap leather, exactly to fit the inside of here. And then I went over to my sewing machine, and I did use my industrial machine, but you guys, I think you can use your home machines on this. And I just stitched along the edge really close, about not even 1/4 of an inch around there. And that gives it a little bit of detail. And then what I'm not gonna take the time to show you right now, but you can put contact cement on the back of this and on this inside portion, and place that inside of there and press it down, and you'll have to press it and keep pressing it. And then you've got your little black and brown, black and tan, you can call it, valet tray. The more I thought about this, you know, I always think about how I would do it better, or how I would change it if I could. I would look for maybe a different shape picture frame, maybe just a square one that is completely streamlined without all of this little beveling and stuff. But to show you the idea, where really all I want to do is show you ideas. You can go pick out whatever materials you want, and actually I'd look around your own house and find stuff to use. But anyway, then this will be like that, and what you can do if you want to, instead you can put some initials in the center here. You could cut out a little piece in the center and stitch another color underneath that and have like a little underlay under there. You can do all sorts of things. I mean, just try it. It's not gonna hurt anything. But this will be a nice, actually I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up and use this here, because when I come in my shop, I have my keys and I have my sunglasses, and I swear I don't put them in the same place any 2 days in a row. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up and put it by the front door. Then when you're all done, and if you've got this all set, I would take a piece of felt or some kind of soft fabric and glue it on the bottom here so it doesn't scratch up your table. And there you go, that's another little gift idea. All right, so that's the day in leather. I love Goodwill. When I worked at a shelter for families who had fled domestic abuse, Goodwill was one of the services that came in and really helped those women get trained for different kinds of jobs out in the community. And one of the women that I worked with, I had a big room where we did this kind of thing, and we also did sewing and we did crafting, and I started teaching them upholstery down there. One of the women I kind of got to be close to, and when she graduated from her Goodwill training program, she invited me to the graduation, and it was up at a local hospital that they used the room up there. Oh, I think they were training her they were doing a nurse's training for her. She was gonna help with patients in a nursing home. That was what it was. This was a number of years ago. But anyway, I got to sit in the crowd or the audience and watch these individuals graduate with their whatever their specialty was. And I'm not kidding you, they treated them like they were graduating from Ivy League schools. They were so proud and so encouraging. It was really touching. So I have a soft spot for Goodwill in my heart, and I know there's certain things that people object to with them, but again, I think that they're doing it right, and I don't mind donating to them, and I don't mind buying from them, although sometimes they do exaggerate the prices. But anyway, and there's other services that do the same kind of great stuff too, but this just happens to be, in this past couple weeks, I've been on a Goodwill jag because I haven't been there for so long. So anyway, those are 2 gift ideas. Let your mind go crazy. Be patient with yourself. Don't be a perfectionist. You don't need to do these things perfectly. It's not about that. It's about getting in this whole different frame of mind and just making something with your hands and exploring. And even if it's a failure, who says what a failure is? It doesn't matter because it's the process. I could go on and on. But anyway, I want you to please go sign up to be on my email list at thehomeroomshop.com. I've got tons of tutorials I can direct you to. I've been doing these for a lot of years. And also you'll be updated on everything that's coming up. I've got some online courses and online workshops coming up that I would love for you to join me in. And again, I'll be here. I don't know if I'll keep on Instagram Live or I may jump over to YouTube. I'm not sure, to do my Tuesday videos, but I will for sure let you know. But I'll be back here next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. So let your mind go and just go on a scavenger hunt around your house and find some junk and see what you can come up with. All right? Love you guys. Bye.